So I want to talk today about the cells. Each cell is a center of its own world, right? And through the biology and neuroscience, we can learn about our spiritual sciences and the divine. And we know the cells meet. Some of a billion cells, billions of cells, sometimes a cell meets, two cells meet just once, crossing paths, exchanging information, moving on, leaving each other behind forever. And in other words, exchange information means they took in something from the other. So cells, internal cells looking inside, there's a microcosm. There's a part of the cells looking out that's a macrocosm. So people have usually heard this just to explain the difference. Microcosm, we know, means the cosmo in small. Macrocosm means the cosmo in big. What we're saying is the world, the universe. So cosmic, when we're looking into the cells, we would call it a microcosm. When we're a cell looking out, we call it a macrocosm. Just giving the orientation. And everyone comes and goes, all people, friends, lovers, teachers, family, coworkers, children. All things, all roles, all jobs, all appointments, stages, feelings will disappear eventually, and we only have ourself. That's what we do. I have this channel, so we do the self work. We don't really matter that much to anyone, which may be hard to believe, but maybe hard to accept and digest, but it's the only way out to recognize that we can't really matter that much to anyone. Everyone has to matter to themselves, and in other words, to any one individual in the body, there are many liver cells. There's not just one. There's many brain cells. There's many heart cells. In other words, there will be another heart cell. And it's hard because no one is replaceable. Every person is completely unique. But at the same time, we switch therapists, we switch doctor, healthcare providers, we switch, volunteer organizations and so on. So there's that balance, finding that balance, and a tolerance to accommodate the range, which in other words means to hold space, make space for anything outside of the center, the gray area. And so this is like between the dark and the light, the life and the death, the truth and the false. And, when you think about a skin graft, those cells leave their old life behind, those cells by the skin that was moved, and everyone lets them go. They help now in this new area. At the same time, they're meaningless and worthless to those from the previous life from the past. In other words, now they have no meaning. It's like the cells in the old area where they came from. For them, life continues, and they're continuing to be in their space. They didn't know that this one was transported somewhere else, for example. They may never get the information directly from that cell, in other words, or those cells. Even if the body's whole and the information, the whole body knows, it's like those cells, each cell's knowledge, right? Because new cell grows, new skin cells grow, and the skin over there makes relationship. Eventually those cells die also. And immune cells, which have the special privilege of being able to get to all, for almost every one of the cells, so maybe not everyone, but almost everyone, and impact them, bond with them in a way that affects both. They will be recognized as familiar, or same, and have the faculty to label cells as same or other. So it's like you meet, it's like you have this, imagine your immune cell that has special power. Everyone you meet, you label them as same, like familiar, like we're one, or other. You're an other. And every cell will see you as the same or familiar as them. And they can learn about the body as a whole from each cell, and they can trigger self-destruction for that cell. They can cut resources and ties from the cells who are over-consuming or engulfing them, which can take a few days to process and purify from, like as a congregation representative removing a plague or an infection. Like this cell, this almost like a holy cell, will come, and the cell that's over-consuming or destructive will now have its ties cut off. It's now going to have to either self-destruct or be engulfed. That's usually the two ways: T4 cells, T8 cells. We're talking about literally the immune cells. Literally, this is their jobs, and they're protecting the surrounding areas, also the system. the organism. So they don't need to feel bad about a cell that doesn't want to be saved by becoming more conservative in its absorption and less stingy in its energy expenditure. If it's pitching in and not just ingesting, it can be considered a resource to that area and the system and the organism. A cell can reverse a process that was alerting the body's authorities to come audit and even potentially audit it or terminate it or cast it under self-killing mode. So this idea that the cell starts to cause alerts, but it then corrects its behaviors. And sometimes, honestly, people will say that in the physical world, we have to fast. And this causes our cells to get back on track, or we have to stop being exposed to toxins. And this causes cells with unregulated growth to stop being, greedy or trying to dominate other cells. So they're not audited yet, or they've already been audited, or they're like, and while they're being audited, they could be terminated or casted under self-killing mode, but also that cell itself could have an opportunity during this process to stop. But once it's too late, it's too late. And so this idea of like, who am I emerging into? If I fast from my old self and I let myself become a new self, this idea, you remember we started by saying that everything physical could also be spiritual and divine. So I decided, let me write a few things. Working in meaningful jobs, satisfied, productive, and every day doing these things like showering, changing clothes. Now, I still don't shower every single day, but and I don't, I'm brushing my teeth at night, and I still don't do that. But in all these areas, once we become conscious, we can find the right amount. So maybe it's not healthy for my hair to shower every single night, or maybe I'm not able to shower every single night, but like staying clean, there was this idea, like, who am I emerging into? Oh, actually, I'll put it like this. I think what I'm saying is that I became someone who was showering and changing their clothes every day and even brushing teeth every night, but actually that's not necessarily who I am. So like that could have been like for a period of time a way to recalibrate and then to find my middle ground rather than, wanting to wear the same clothes or not showering out of laziness or, exhaustion, drainedness, not wanting to brush my teeth at night. Now, I actually do not shower. So now, sort of at the balance point, I don't shower every day. I don't brush my teeth every night. I do usually change my clothes, but I still sometimes wear the same clothes again if, like, I'm quickly rushing outside or I'm, I feel I didn't make them, like, dirty. I just wear them for a short time. Other aspects of the self, the emerging cell is peace with my real nature, self-care, self-love, not harsh, gentle and yielding, giving people a chance to be right and make sense without quickly projecting selfishness, malintention, blame, evil nature, stinginess, power hunger. Remember, I'm saying the projection is taking accountability. It's saying this was something I was exposed to, made an assumption about, and now carry with me and assume that others are going to do. Being willing to exist, or even parts of me I disown, then we project, right? Being willing to exist with differences, like agreeing to disagree, finding common ground, and healthy body, exercising regularly and enough without using it as a punishment or a tax in order to eat. There was a time I exercised every day, but I used it like it was the eating tax. If you want to eat, you have to exercise. Or I would over-exercise as a punishment because I felt I indulged or I ate too much or I was greedy. And then think about like a deeper level here is what do I dream of? What is like what I think is my potential from this place? Now I did write this all a year ago, but still, let's remember that things can sometimes take a lot longer than a year or sometimes a lot less. Oh, my parents actually listening to how I feel is what I dream of. My parents actually listening to how I feel without reacting and accepting without judging. I want to remind, we're looking at the macrocosm and microcosm. So first we're looking at from inside the cell out. Now we're looking from outside into the cells. So there's cells in my body from my parents. Someone who feels safe and makes me feel I can be myself, growth-oriented, good balance of superficial and deep, understands me, relates to me, is generous, kind, patient with me, makes time and efforts for me, gives me affection and reassurance, wants to build with me something that lasts, has a sense of humor, considers me, is thoughtful, worships Hashem, and there's good chemistry, attraction, and chooses me, commits to me, is loyal to me. This is a potential cell that I'm seeing into. So that's how I could come up with this. To be a mother, this is the cell in me that can be a mother. Even just one or two kids. There could be multiple cells, but I think you understand what I'm saying. We're looking into the versions, into the cells. To be a mother, even just one or two kids, maybe 6, to have a clean and kosher, loving, nurturing environment for them. Co-parenting with their father. What I meant is not a divorce co-parenting, but like both parents being a parent. With the father as a role, and being role models for healthy, sustainable bonding, teaching them, encouraging them, supporting them, nourishing them, and raising them to be holy, sweet, precious kinderlach, which means kiddeles in like kiddos in Yiddish, who reveal Hashem's light into the world and have Yir Shemayim, which is awe, reverence of the heavenly, and tznius, which is like modesty or moderation, privacy, self-respect, and students who are wise and loving. And finally, balancing my will with my surrender, like the drive to the future and the tolerance of the past, so I could be with what is. In other words, being present without resistance, caught up to the date, to now, not attached, and open and flowing. And let's talk about mindful. I want to share one last thing. Three ways I appreciate myself. In order, sometimes we're all into who we're becoming and everything in this, but I want to talk about the various cells of the self. There's mindfulness of the self. So I did 3, and you can write however many you want. So I appreciate I'm not embarrassed to feel strongly and expose my shyness, sensitivity, my needs, wants, fears, even to hardened people who don't cry, or to men, or in public. And I do it with dignity, meaning that I feel secure, that it's not just my found ability, but my right, even my duty, to express my emotions and be witnessed, seen, heard, registered. I appreciate my imagination, creativity, resourcefulness, adaptability, ability to pivot and redirect and maintain storylines, which can be possibilities, reasonings, narratives, for example, for the sake of continuity, and in impermanence and uncertainty, and to keep myself company with ideas and symbols, to believe in newness, to be able to face the mystery, even to comfort myself amid lostness, confusion with the associations and derivatives the unconscious mind brings forth for clarity and understanding. I appreciate my openness, range and tolerance, capacity, endurance, wherewithal, spaciousness, empathy, non-chaos, equanimity, loving, devoted, loyal, radiant, faculty to withstand, charismatic, reassuring, sincere, genuine heart. That's all for now. See you tomorrow.